You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Welcome everyone to Advance Rhode Island. I'm Dan McKee, the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Rhode Island, and each month we come out and talk about the things that we're doing in our office, whether it has to do with working with municipalities or working with education issues or the veterans issues, long-term health care. And one of the highlights of our office is working with small businesses. And today we're very fortunate to have a group of business owners in the state of Rhode Island that represent the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, but they're here in Rhode Island. They're running their businesses, and we want to hear about their businesses, what they do, and how we can kind of continue to try to improve the state of Rhode Island in terms of business friendliness. So what I would ask you to do is Susie, could you start off here and tell us a little bit about your real estate business and how you got here to Rhode Island, and and what type of things that you provide in terms of services in your business.
Thank you.
And welcome, by the way, and
Thank
welcome
you.
to everybody here.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Yes.
for having me. It's
Yes.
a pleasure. Again, my name is Sussy DeLeon, and currently I am the broker owner of a RE/MAX franchise, RE/MAX New Horizons in Providence.
Yes. By the way, I was a realtor at one time.
Yes?
Yes. Oh, yes. A long time ago.
Yeah, I became a real estate agent in 1997.
Yeah.
And 3 years later, I was able to purchase my broker company due to the fact that I was one of the only one, or maybe one of the few real estate brokers that speak Spanish at that time. And we needed a lot of bilingual services, and my office at that time didn't provide that services, so I needed to do something different to serve the Latino community on those years. So that's the way that I became the owner of the company. He said, "I'll sell you my." Okay. So
and it wasn't all that great of a real estate market, but then it wasn't bad. We're coming off a pretty good trend there.
1997, the prices were low.
Yes.
The sales prices were under $100,000 in Providence, especially.
Yeah.
And wasn't many first-time buyer programs at that time, and a lot of people didn't have a lot of information on how to buy a house. So I had to do a lot of hand-holding for a lot of these families. That was my beginning. The company's been open since then. We have a lot of changes in the market over the years. We had, the crash some 10, 11 years ago, and we survived it. We're still there helping families, and just working in Rhode Island, also Massachusetts.
Yeah. So congratulations for staying in business all that length of time,
Thank you.
right? Especially when with the real estate markets, we know how severely it hit. I was a mayor at the time, and we kept on doing our real estate assessments, and we kept on seeing that declines in value. We're fortunate that's leveled off, and we're starting to see a little uptick now in values.
Things are amazing right now. The market is pretty active, and we saw an increment on the prices, about 25%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we love to hear that, because if people are moving in and buying properties in Providence or Cumberland or wherever it might be, that's a reflection that Rhode Island's a good place to live.
Yep.
And so thank you so much for being here. Jhonny, tell us a little bit about your construction company. I'm glad you brought your hat in. I think I will wear that hat as we phase out on the show, and let everybody know that we're alive and well in Rhode Island doing some business. Tell us a little about your construction business.
So I'll start. I grew up in Central Falls, Rhode Island. The business is
right next door to Cumberland.
Right next door to Cumberland, yes. So I grew up in Central Falls. I went to Bryant for business school, and I opened the business with my father in 2007. So we're about 10 years now in the business. I bought him out. He still works for me, but he's older, so he wants to lay back, and I own it 100%. So when we started, we did more as a subcontractor for the big companies like Gilbane and so forth. So we started working for Gilbane, the Dimios, and then we went on our own and moved to more of a general contractor. And right now, some of our clients are Brown University, Johnson & Wales, Rhode Island College, West Elmwood Housing, Procasciante Group, Carpinato. So I got some of the big boys that give me substantial amount of work and keep me busy, and my guys, and my subs too, because as I moved from subcontracting to the general contractor, I needed subs to grow.
Yeah,
so.
we're going to talk about that in the next go around, and who you're helping employ.
Yes.
So now, would you be third generation, second generation, first generation?
Technically first, right?
First,
Because it was me and my dad at the same
Yes.
time, because he worked for someone before that. So technically first generation.
Yes, and I think that is an important point to be made here. When I was growing up, the Portuguese community in our town was first generation. Portuguese was spoken in the households when I visited my friends that I played basketball with and baseball with, and some of the girlfriends that I had, right? So so some of the girls in my classmates, Portuguese was spoken in that, but yet it didn't take long before all of a sudden they were contributing in a way that was on the professional basis. And I think that's an example of what we're sharing today.
Correct.
Is that just wait, hold your breath a little bit. And I want to tell a story about down the line about one of the experiences I had on that particular thing. And all of a sudden, people start to establish themselves. And congratulations on expanding that business and the portfolio that you got here, Jhonny, is very impressive. Joshua, tell us a little bit about your business, please.
Sure. So my name is Joshua Gorra. I've been in Rhode Island now 18 years. I grew up north of Boston, Lawrence, Mass, Methuen, Mass. First generation, right? My parents, my father is Cuban, my mom's Ecuadorian, and didn't speak a lick of English, right? So in the house it was Spanish. Inside the fence, Spanish. Outside the fence, English. That was the rule. So I came to school, Johnson & Wales, in 2000. 2004 I graduated, financial service management. I got into this business, which is financial services, and never looked back. So now I work with a firm called Strategies for Wealth, New England, which is part of Guardian Park Ave Securities. Our parent company is in New York, Broadway and Wall Street, and we're very fortunate that they're investing just shy of $3 million over the next 3 years in Rhode Island. Our office is at 1 State Street in Providence, right across the street from the lovely building, State Capitol. So we're very fortunate.
Yeah, I spend a little time in there, but I spend most of my time outside that building, trying to go to the 39 cities and towns in Rhode Island. Yes.
So a beautiful spot. We had a choice of Jefferson Boulevard, where I worked with my previous firm, and Warwick, great location, but I really felt passionate about making an impact in Providence and bringing jobs to Providence, bringing a career to Providence to not only minorities, but everybody that's interested in helping their communities within financial services.
That's great, and thank you so much for being here today. And stories are, my generation. I'm probably third or fourth generation. I can't keep track, but our stories are very similar, and that's one of the things I wanted to tell, the public and the residents of the state of Rhode Island that, as I go around the 39 cities and towns. I really feel as though, as a mayor and working with municipal leaders, that we should be connecting in these cities and towns in a way that's real. But also, I think we should go celebrate our diversity in our state, right? But I think we should go beyond that. I think we should be walking arm in arm with one another, regardless of where my Irish background or your Spanish background or Cuban background, right? And we should be walking arm in arm with one another, because that's how we're going to move the state in a position where the economy is going to work for all of us, right? Ramon, tell us a little bit about your business, please.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ramon Feliz. I'm in the mortgage business here in the state. Grew up in Providence, attended school here. After going to Rhode Island College, decided that the state was a little too small for my dreams. Moved out to New York City, did that for the last 15 years, and I have 8 months back in the state. I was drawn back to Rhode Island. I was drawn back to the state and to the core group of friends, family, and the desire to do something and create in my own state. So coming from Dominican parents who immigrated here, I'm also first generation. A little bit of a different story, though. I was actually born in Russia, raised in Dominican Republic till I was about 7, and then in Providence. But I identify more with Providence than anything else, because it's what created my entire identity growing up. So that's part of the motivation of why I left, and also I knew at some point in time I would come back, because being a product of this environment and knowing what this environment offers is what fueled me to not only thrive for success, but then also find a way to be able to serve my community in some way, shape, or form. And I have the ability to do that by helping families accomplish their dreams of home ownership and overcoming the obstacles that face many of these families, as that entire pendulum in finance took a drastic swing to regulation, and now kind of trying to find a medium in affordability as well. And just, giving people the opportunity to actually qualify and own a home.
So did you live in Manhattan?
I did for a small period of time, and then it was too much.
Yeah. so
I'm a little boy from Providence, Rhode Island. I felt like overwhelmed in the big city.
So consistent with my message about walking together arm in arm, right? Our son Matthew graduated from University of Connecticut with a real estate finance degree and spent 10 years in New York City and working right at Ernst & Young right on Times Square, and then he worked with some private equity, and now he's back in Rhode Island working some of that commercial real estate. But yes, we have a lot of things that will pull us together. And so your story, going to New York City, says, hey, that was my story. That was my son. That was my son's story. Your story and my son's story is the same, even though you were born in Russia, which is another story that we're going to want to hear about. But thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm going to share a story about first generation when we're kind of done with the first round here, that it kind of just continues to echo what all of you are saying right now. Ramon, give us an overview on both. Oscar. We heard from Ramon. Oscar, tell us a little overview on. First of all, I'd like to have you tell a little bit about the chamber, and then tell us a little bit about your business, please.
Yes, okay. The Chamber of Commerce, recently created last year, we have in our first year, and it's created to promote and to empower the Latino business community around the state. The growing of this community is accelerated, and we cannot keep more under the table. So it's time to create an organization and bring all together in order to improve, to be part, to collaborate more with the economy in the state, which is the main goal of our organization.
One of the fastest growing business group in the state is the Hispanic group.
Definitely.
Statistically, and that's a statistical fact.
So we are really, really excited about this organization. We know that we have big challenges in front of us, but we are really, really excited to work together and to do more for all the Latino business in general. In my personal side, I am the founder and CEO of Emerging Studies Institute, which is a unique bilingual vocational and technical school. We create this company to provide more options to our community, the community in general, but with some additional help for the Latino community. We have a huge catalog of programs from the administrative areas, business, leadership, soft skills, so we can provide our community with more options to be prepared to find jobs. Additionally, we provide services in job development and placement. We help our students to be prepared for interviews and to prepare to get new jobs. Since I arrived to this state in 2006, I've been working in...
Where did you come from?
I come from Venezuela.
Okay, good. We have a Russia, Venezuela, Cuba.
Very huge.
Okay. Guatemala?
Yeah.
Colombia, okay.
But all of us Latinos.
Yes.
So since I arrived to this state, I've been working with different organizations, with the Rhode Island Professional Latino Association. I am former president of that organization for 2 periods. Working in different committees. I ended the diversity committee of the Providence Foundation, and now with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So again, excited and with too much energy to work and help our community.
Well, thank you for doing that, especially putting, rallying businesses together or with the objective to create a better economy for the state of Rhode Island. We all benefit from a better economy, right? Everybody benefits from a better economy, and I'm really high on really pushing very hard to make sure that we increase the incomes of the families that live in Rhode Island, and you need professionals like yourself to make that happen.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity to sit on the table and expose of our issues and opportunities to do the thing better in the future.
Well, thousands of people will see this, both through our social media network, the way that this show is every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, it's on the state cable interconnect. So we know that this message is going to get out, and it's an important one for people to hear. So, Ivette, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world.
My name is Ivette Solivan. I grew up and was raised in Puerto Rico, where I have a master's in finances and commerce. Around 10 years ago, I moved to Providence, Rhode Island for the first time. A lot of dreams and hopes and 11 clients and like $80 in my wallet. And it was very difficult for me because prior to me, people supposedly repair credit and they did not. So the road was already damaged when I get here, but I never lost the faith in God or myself. Mm-hmm. So it has been 10 years now. What I do is credit counseling. We pull the credit reports, we analyze them, I look at the negative areas, I research the law, there's the statute of limitation and validation of that and other terms that we are not going to discuss today.
Yes. But when the economy hit us really hard, I'm sure that you know, again, I'll reflect back to my family. My daughter, Kara, was working on financial workouts all around the country because everybody's credit and businesses were failing, right? So you were right in the middle of that.
Yes.
So you were being very helpful to kind of repair that credits that was going downhill.
And bring them hopes and dreams and motivation. That's what our community needs, to tell them, yes, we can do this, we can do it. So in our practice, we see many businesses owners having to utilize their credit history to fund operations and expansions and things like that. And that's where Fisher Credit shows up. It shouldn't be like that. So it's not only to repair the credit, but to show them how to manage properly a credit card, or to tell them about the FICO score and the importance of having good credit. So it has been great. Again, 10 years on a roll, so it has been a pleasure, and hopefully 20 more.
Yes, okay. Well, so we know that it's very important, and we're going to be putting up, as we are talking, your names and how to contact you, and because I think it's very important, not only do we tell the stories about you know, the chamber that you're working on and talk in general about how important the business is, but we are also here to help each and every business do better.
Exactly.
So hopefully, as people see this show, they have an interest in credit issues, right, or construction issues, real estate issues, and financial type of consulting and mortgages, and the other consultant that Oscar was pointing out, you know, contact everybody. We want you to contact these guys and talk to them. So I'm going to go around now. I'm going to say, you know, I want you to share, you know, what's going on that's pretty good. Right. Give us give us an example of a project that's going well, or you know, something that went up. But in the meantime, I want to just tell you this. My story was, so I was on Broad Street in Providence, which I spent a good amount of time on Broad Street in Providence, Broad Street in Wesley, Broad Street in Cumberland. I'm in every Broad Street in the state of Rhode Island. And so I was visiting Reverend Mercedes, who just opened up a church right there on Broad Street, and then on a Sunday morning, and then I went across the street to one of the businesses that we helped there, because they took a lot of the parking spots were being taken away on Broad Street, and we stepped in and said no, and we fixed that for the business community. So I got to know a number of the businesses on Broad Street. Stopped in and met with one of the owners who runs a restaurant there, and he speaks Spanish. And so during the conversation, he said to Rosa, who's in our office, that helps me with a lot of the Spanish. So if you start, you know, when she feels better, she's out right now, but when she feels better, we'll be able to kind of get right back into the neighborhood. But speaking Spanish, he said, would the lieutenant governor wait? I would like to have him meet my son. And so I said, sure, I'll wait. Tell Rosa I'll wait. So his son came in, probably 26, 27 years old, starts speaking Spanish to his dad, right? And but then he turns to me and starts speaking English fluently. This is probably like you said, like technically first generation in a lot of ways. And then he says, finally I said, so where are you working? And he said, well, I'm up in Framingham working on some financial things, and then now I'm getting the picture. So where did you go to school? Where did you graduate? Now this is first generation, right? Bentley College up in Massachusetts, one of the top accounting schools in the entire Northeast. Here's someone that, his dad struggles on the language, right? And sometimes we beat up people who struggle on the language, yet here's his son graduated with a degree in accounting from Bentley. So it happens quick, to my point earlier, right? So, all right, so let's go around the table and tell us something that's going on good.
Yes, of
Yes.
course.
We like to hear good stories, too.
Of course.
Yes.
Well, first of all, in the real estate market, being on it for so many years and looking at all the different changes, it's good to see a better market when the prices are been going up. But of course, there's some challenges which we will talk about after.
Yes.
But people are still motivated. We still have fantastic interest rates, which is good for the market. That will still help families to afford the increase on the pricing on the homes. But
Interest rates in the 4% range,
they're
right?
still fantastic.
Yes.
Those are good rates,
unbelievable.
right? Yes.
When I first opened up one of our first businesses, I still have the note that came from the bank. We had a line of credit, 21%.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, 21%. And when I was in the real estate, the first mortgages, that's when Rhode Island Housing came into
Yeah.
being, it was double digits.
Right.
10, 11%,
Yes.
12%.
No, we still
So,
have.
so that we could celebrate this,
Oh,
right?
we have to celebrate that the rates are
Yes.
still fantastic. Some towns offer programs for first-time buyers. Will be nice if a lot of towns will offer that, but it's mostly in some of the areas where it's low-income families. They still have grants available. Some of the bigger banks still have community loans with no mortgage insurance, which for a reason they're not very popular. They don't talk much about it, but they're available. And it's what happened when you go to somebody that knows the industry so well. We can select where to send our clients depending on how much they can afford and try to push for them to get those type of
So
financing.
that's one of the values of a realtor, is the fact that you know what's happening on the ground, and
Yes.
as you can walk people through a very complicated process,
Oh, yes.
which is when you purchase something or purchase a home,
Definitely.
and provide them with the very best financial strategies, right?
That's right.
In terms of, so that long term, when you have a mortgage, you're paying that every year.
Of course.
And so it's important how you position yourself right off the bat.
Definitely, and working with a lot of, I work with a lot of different families, but I always work from the beginning with Latino families. The issue with the status in the country is obviously not every bank will give you a loan if you only have a permit to work. You're legal in the country, but you only have a permit to work. So it is institutions that will give you a loan with your permit to work. So it's still, some good things happening for those families that only have that kind of
Yes.
permit in the country.
Well, having that knowledge is very important. And
Definitely.
to share that is even more important, right?
And obviously right now sellers are very happy because after so many years of them not getting the prices that they wanted, now they can see better numbers when they sell their homes.
Yes, and a number of people ended up underwater depending on when they bought their properties, right? And that was a
Yeah.
very difficult time to navigate through, and thankfully we're past that.
Yeah.
And that's going to help Rhode Island position itself pretty well.
Definitely.
Jhonny, share some of the things that are going on pretty good with you.
So we're booming.
Yes.
We're really booming right now.
We'd like to hear that.
So we're doing a project at Rhode Island College. We have a couple other projects with the state of Rhode Island. We probably have, actually we do have over 7 figures. It's over $1 million worth of work right now that we're working on. And we have a few other things on the pipeline that we're negotiating. So yeah, no, we're very happy. We do, so some of our clients like Procashante, we're looking at a couple projects for them that we look forward to doing. Brown, Johnson. I mean, we have some steady clients that give us enough work. And now we're moving more on the public side, which is a little different. The paperwork, it's more involved and stuff. But yeah, no, we're booming. We can't complain. We're happy. We're growing. I'm actually, sending out a letter to intent to hire today after I get out of here.
Nice.
I'm going to send one out. So I'm going to be hiring
Yes.
somebody.
So call Jhonny if you need a job. If you're good at construction, call him up.
Right.
But also, when you have a project, there is residual benefits to that because
Oh,
you
yeah.
you bring in subcontractors,
subs.
you bring in other vendors. Tell us a
Correct.
little bit about that because as this is what we want people to know as projects get off the ground, it's not just your company that benefits.
No, yeah, we
And
so,
the people who work with you, right?
Right. So on a job, we have a project manager, we have a superintendent, we have like a bookkeeper in the office that does the accounting side, and we have some like laborers and carpenters and painters because that's how we started as a painter company. So, but we also have we sub out electrical work, HVAC, plumbing. The drywall we tend to sub out to. Excavation. This project that we're doing for Rhode Island College, it's pretty intense, but there's excavation work doing. And then we use vendors like fencing, so we're fencing the area that we're working
construction
on.
site, yeah.
Yeah, we have a trailer coming in, so we have vendors outside of just subs. We have vendors that benefit from us working. So yeah, it goes pretty big.
Yes, well, I think that's so important to understand that the benefits of a construction project, whether it's public or private,
Right.
in my mind, whether it's union or non-union,
Right.
Employs people.
Correct.
And it's good paying jobs. Construction,
Very good.
when you're working, it's good paying jobs, and that's
Very
why
good paying.
very happy that some of the things have improved dramatically over the last few years. Because when I talked to people in labor a few years back, there was too many people on the bench.
Right.
There was just too many people on the bench, which means out there that they're not working and they're waiting for somebody to take them off the bench and put them into the playing field, right? So thank you for doing your work. I don't think that we thank our small businesses enough
Right.
for what they bring to the table, and we're going to talk about that in the back half of the show. What I think we need to do is double down on small business and our our efforts to really focus on them and distribute our resources in a way that the small businesses get their fair share of what we're willing to put on the table. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Tell us something that's going on pretty good in the financial service, which you have a very interesting story in terms of what you brought right to Providence, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, being first generation and learning the different hardships financially, so buying a house, or, shopping for a house, learning life insurance, learning the importance of deferred taxes, income. My parents didn't know how to spell taxes or insurance, right? Go to work, save whatever you can under the mattress, gold, tin jars in the backyard, right, and at the bank.
Yep.
Right, where in the 80s they had those high interest rates. Unfortunately, a lot of interest rates in the mortgages were also high and a lot of different things. So today, it's one of the great things we're doing. We're very passionate about teaching people, especially in the minority, in the Hispanic community, because and Portuguese and Italian and Irish, people that are new to this kind of system, but learning how to make your money work for you.
Yeah. And probably everybody needs that help.
Everybody does,
Yes.
right? So I came down here, with just me, right? No
Yes.
friendships, no nothing. I want to try something different. Came to Providence, bought my first house off Douglas Ave, still own it today. Right out of college. Today I own 4 properties. One I live in Western Cranston. But I share that with the community. I share it with my clients in the base and I say, how do we help you work with Susie, work with Ramon, work with whoever you're working with in different capacities? It's going to help you build your retirement future or income or kind of reality as far
Yeah.
as dreams, visions, goals, that type of thing.
Do you have, don't tell names, but give us like a story of somebody that comes to you and says, hey, I need some help. And then what happens from there?
Great. So I have a great story, very, very near and dear to my heart. So Portuguese gentleman, Cape Verde Portuguese, had come to me. Him and his wife's Cape Verde. He's Portuguese. So I always mention both because they're passionate on both sides. But he was in the janitor kind of space, grew up the ranks and managed his own team. And today he makes well over $100,000. But back when he was making 20, 25, couldn't speak English, no one would work with him. And today he won't work with anybody else, right? So oil companies, I won't mention names, but they had some tax issues or retirement issues, complaints, and bad experiences in the past. And it's nice to sit down, kind of take a holistic approach and look at the comprehensive plan and say, okay, we're going to do piece by piece and help you get there.
Yeah.
But really being the instrumental in teaming people up and working together. So it's not just one company. It's not just investments, it's not just insurance, it's doing the whole plan for them.
Yeah, so thank you so much for doing that work as well. I mean, I keep on talking to people about what would the state of Rhode Island look like without small businesses? What would it look like? And yet we continue to think that the efforts of running a business and earning incomes for the not only the ownership for the people that work and the people who benefit from the work. We think that there's a drive in the state of Rhode Island that thinks that, hey, this just falls like manna from the heavens, right? And that because it falls from manna from the heavens, then it belongs to everybody, and we need to kind of share that out in a way that doesn't recognize that it's a tremendous amount of hard work, as I know in terms of being in business myself, and trying to keep our head above water and make doing the right thing by not only the people who work with us, but also
a lot of hours.
A lot of hours. You don't want to calculate the hours. So yes, so just to share with you that we all come from the same spot, and that's part of my theme of the work here that we're involved in. We grew up in a business where it was 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. All right, so that was in the heating business and servicing and delivering, and so I grew up in that environment, and I didn't have enough, so I opened up a health club that we were open to 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and we ran that for 30 years. So yes, so it takes a lot of hard work, and we should not be taking it for granted. And I think that somehow we think that it just happens. But Ramon, tell us a little bit about the good stories that's going on in your world right now.
Well, I mean, to Susie's point earlier, we're seeing an all-time high in demand in the real estate world right now, and the same goes for mortgage originations. There's a tremendous amount of people who are sitting at home and just saying, hey, you know what I'm paying for rent, I could own my own home, create equity, create a forced savings by paying down that mortgage, and really it's a path to the creation of wealth. And it's exciting to see that happening in our business, but it's more exciting when you get to capture. I had a client very recently who, for a large number of years, was basically living in public housing. And about 8 years ago, made a decision that it was time to change that, and went through the process. And it's remarkable because it took this lady 8 years to finally be able to buy a home, but she was able to do it. And it was the most emotional closing I've ever been to, because once everything was all said and done, she broke down crying. And it really moved me, because it showed me, for me personally, I had never thought about it, but my mother grew up in Rhode Island and raised me here, and she was a pretty much single parent, worked 2 jobs. One was a factory job, the other one was a CNA, and my mom owned 4 homes at one point through those jobs. Wow. And when I saw this lady, I said, wow, I can only imagine if this is what this feels like for this particular person. It brought me back home, and I said, man, I totally underappreciated my mom growing up, because I can only imagine what it took her. And that is part of the reason why when I sit down with a client, it's not just about a mortgage. It's about, how do we turn this into your path to creating wealth for generations to come? And it's an impact that you get to see with every person that you help, and it's exciting to be a part of it.
Yeah, and to personalize it that way really makes it feel good when you're able to deliver.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
When you're able to deliver.
Absolutely.
And especially if you structure it in a way that is professional, and is structured in a way where that individual can handle the finances that you kind of introduce them to, right?
Absolutely.
That financial commitment that they're introduced to. That strengthens our state. Mm-hmm. That strengthens our communities, right? Home ownership does do that. And so thank you for again for being here to share that story. And I think it will resonate. Your mom's story will resonate with a lot of people, because our moms work very hard.
Right.
My mom's still living with us today, and she actually lives with Sue and I. So yes, and they work very hard on behalf of their families. So your mom worked very hard on behalf of you, and that's why you're here today to tell your story, for sure,
Absolutely.
right? Oscar, tell us something that's going on good.
Okay. Wearing my business hat,
Yes.
working education is very rewarding. I have been in this business in my last 10 years. My reward is to see how I can change life. Students who are afraid to do the next step, or they don't know how to start to change their life, we have been the best way for them. I am specialized in short programs, 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. It's very, very satisfactory for me to see how one student that started with doubts, I don't know if this work for me, if I can do it, 8 weeks later they have a job and they change their life.
What's the curriculum like, Oscar? You know, what's the course about? That you teach?
There are different areas and
Yeah.
there are different costs, but
Yeah.
that goes from $150 per program until 600.
So that's the
700.
cost, but what are the type of things are you teaching your students?
I have right now programs as administrative assistant, customer service, call center, bookkeeping in the basic way, but I have in the professional development, soft skills, human resource, civility in the workplace, harassment, all those knowledge that are necessary for every worker to have in the workplace. So it's a very extensive type of programs, not just to create technical skill, but to develop the people, develop the person, make them understand that they are the only responsible to change their life. We are a company that can help them doing the training, helping them to be prepared for an interview, but also making connection with other organizations that can help them to solve issues. I always say to my students that we don't solve problems. We help you to solve your own problems. And it is great because they make the click. They say, for real, I cannot wait that someone solve my problem. So we introduce in our classes the motivation, encourage them to change their life. The future is in their hands. In recent past month, I have the opportunity to work with a PCTA school in Providence with high school students. That they are with some difficulties to get the high school diploma. So those programs, it was a very successful experience because I had the opportunity to talk to them and make them see, keep the dreams to be an NBA player or a singer or be an artist. That is perfect. But in the meantime, you need to be prepared. You need to study. You need to create the basis to get your dreams. So it's a very beautiful experience to work with those students.
And a number of people, they're ready and able to work, but they don't exactly know the path to take to get there, right?
Right.
And so you're providing that path to individuals that are, that are very, they have the ability to work, and they just don't know where to go.
Right.
And
Even there are a lot of cases where the people say, I don't speak English. I need help because I don't speak English. But you have been living here for 10, 12 years. You speak English. You go buy groceries.
That's probably good advice.
So when they participate in our classes, which are in English, but with additional support in Spanish, 8 weeks later, they are speaking English fluently. So they say, do you see? It's just about us. If you make the decision, you can get it.
Yeah,
so it's a very, very rewarding
That's a great
experience
message to
work
be
with that.
delivering, because I think that
Yeah.
people, they're really interested in working and earning a living for their family. They got to understand how to get there.
And they are very interested in
Yes.
in get knowledge, get a skill,
Yes.
and have better jobs.
Great.
Yeah.
Yvette, tell us something that's going on okay, something that's going good. Yes.
I'm the one that make the dreams come true.
Yeah.
Let me explain that. A lot of people comes to my office and they're sad. They would like to purchase a home. They have good income. They're dependable, responsible people. They're ready. But when they go through the process, of course, if their credit history is not good or the FICO score is not where it should be, then of course they're going to be denied. that causes a lot of suffering in my clientele. They think, most of them, they just think that this is it. I'm ready to become a homeowner. Maybe that is not for me. And that's the thing that we need to change of them. Like Oscar was saying earlier, we need to kind of motivate our community to let them know, yes, we can overcome all those challenges. Just look at them as challenges, and then but not all of them does that. So what I do, again, when we finish, let's say that the process lasts 90 days, which it does. In 90 days, they will be able to go through the process of the closing and acquiring that property. They will, once you become a homeowner, you're providing your family with a home.
Yeah.
You obtain the American dream, your home. Your self-esteem raises. You feel more comfortable. That's your home. I can have a pet. I can have my friends come over. I can. When you're a tenant, you don't. You lose so many rights and privileges that you have, and they should have. So again, and it's not only to fix their credit, but also to show them how to manage and keep it in good standing all the way. So it is rewarding. I'm overwhelmed. They call me, Ivette, you must be here. They pass by Elmwood Avenue, beeping my brand new car. The truck owners.
Thumbs up?
Yes.
Yes, I like
they
that.
make me go on that truck, and they take pictures of me on the truck, huge trucks that I have to go like. Or sometimes, it is very rewarding. And then when you see them a couple of months afterwards, their eyes change. You see happiness deep there. They gain weight even.
Yes.
Yeah, they get married and even. So, put in, actually we moving the economy, purchasing home, vehicles, and investing. So we were doing our job for Rhode Island.
Yeah, so I mean, rental is, there's a time in your life that the rental makes sense, makes a lot of sense. And there's a time in your life when home ownership makes a great deal of sense. I know that you need good homeowners. As a mayor of Cumberland, we promoted the idea that we wanted to have people live in our community, right? And we wanted to have people be able to afford to live in our community. And so that home ownership strengthens the roots, right, in any community. So, and I've always said that, especially when I moved from the local level to the state level, that one person does better, the state does better, right? One person does better, and the state does better. So I use that philosophy when I did a lot of coaching, right? One player on the team gets a little bit better, the team got better. And so I think that's a really important thing, so that as you're breaking things down, you don't have to change the whole world. You do it one project at a time, one issue at a time, one person at a time. So the work that you're doing there, and I can see that you're pretty proud of it, which you should be. That is great. So I want to go around. We got time to go around, and then to talk about, I've always said, look, when it's raining, don't tell me the sun's shining, right? When the sun's shining, let's talk about that. And we just did. We talked about really good things that are happening. But let's talk about some of the things that we could do better. And how we can position the state, in the worlds that you live in, to create a stronger economy, so that our families can enjoy that, and then our state gets stronger and stronger, and our business climate improves and improves and improves. So let's talk about, not that you're going to solve the whole world's problems, but let's talk about things that are in your world right now that you could see to be helpful, that we could improve.
Definitely.
Yes.
Well, one of the challenges right now with this market is that we have a low inventory. So,
Do you like that?
I like that. Keep talking about that.
affordable homes are necessary. Affordable housing is necessary. I don't know. It seems like something far to reach. I don't know if the state offer any kind of or have any kind of projects in the future to create more affordable housing. Obviously, that's one of the big challenges in our business right now. Definitely, we don't want to see families overpaying for homes. We don't want to see another bubble. We don't want to see another market crashing. And the lack of inventory can definitely make something like that happen again. But so far, we are in a different market from since the last crash. The rates are fantastic. They were not at that time.
Yes.
And what I think our clients are more educated, and they want to know about numbers before they can make any decision, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel very, very confident when somebody wants to buy in this market if the budget is there. The first thing I want them to have is a budget. How much can they afford? And then doesn't affect them if they pay the full price of the home or if they pay a little bit extra, which is happening a lot in this market. But housing is necessary. More housing is important in the state right now.
Yeah, so and as a mayor, we looked at that as being an objective of our community, and we wanted to be increasing that inventory. I know that when I left, we had the first state plan in Rhode Island approved by the planning department of a plan to increase affordable housing in the town of Cumberland. So I'm with you on that. I think that you don't want to oversaturate it, because when you oversaturate it, all of a sudden there's a balance there that can get out of balance in terms of you know, the economic you know, strength of a community as well. But you want to give people the opportunity to be to build that opportunity for themselves, that economic opportunity. So I think that there's a number of ways to do that. I'd be happy to talk to you about some of the strategies we used in the town of Cumberland. We had, I think, 76 units that were being opened up as I left as mayor, and I believe that they've opened up now, and it gives the people an opportunity. But it's more in the rental, what you're talking about in the home ownership, and I think that that's something that we can do better on. Continue advocating for those state bonds, because those state bonds that go to Rhode Island Housing do impact that, and with a focus, I think a realtor focus on the value of entry level with home ownership. That I think is really, really an important thing.
Definitely.
So be happy to work with you on that.
Thank you.
Tell us some stuff, Jhonny, that could be doing better. We could be doing better on this stuff.
So one of the areas that I want to focus on is I get involved a lot with the state and MBE's Minority Business Enterprise and WB's Women in Business Enterprise, and I know there was going to be a disparity study. So the state demographics have changed big time from 20-something years ago that they did the last disparity study. They haven't done one since. So they had approved it, but the funding was removed for the disparity study. And I think it's important to do one to see the demographics of this state, to see how lack of support we have on, for minority contractors. So, and just to be honest with you, I'm doing very well. But a lot in the construction, at least I'll talk in the construction industry, minorities don't get their fair shake of work with the state, and I would love to see that change. And one of the ways to see that is to see the numbers, right? If you do a disparity study, you see the numbers and you see, whoa, only 4 or 5% it's going to, when it's supposed to be 10%, then we need to address that.
Yeah, so a study like that should be able to give you the data points to determine, why that's happening, if it's happening.
Correct.
What is the things that need to be addressed?
Systematic, and if it is,
systematic.
Why? And not just for like vendors like myself doing work for the state, but also state agencies hiring more people of color, more Hispanics.
Yeah, well, I'm all in on that. I mean, but I also think you need to really dig into the education issue.
That's true.
Right, the education issue, which we've done through our work with the
that,
mayoral academies,
yes.
and now the data is in,
yes.
that we know that everybody can learn regardless of what country they came from or what
yes.
floor level they're living on. And I can tell you, I share with you and I share with the public that we should be really embracing these opportunities. So the mayoral academy that I chaired, Blackstone Valley Prep, kids from Pawtucket, Center Falls, Cumberland, and Lincoln, just was recognized as a National School of the Year. Stanford University just recognized that 100 extra days of learning math and reading happen in that school as opposed to our district schools. And also the SAT scores will come in. 91% of the kids, 91% of the kids in that school, 70% free and reduced lunch, and a great deal of diversity, which I intended when I started it that would happen. 91% are more likely to go to college than their peers are. And so they're 108 points higher than the state average on the SATs. So I'd love to see that study done. I'd love to see it get a lot more expansive, so you dig in for some of the underlying reasons why certain things are happening and why certain opportunities are not being met. Some of it may be that we're just not giving enough business to qualified businesses out there to be in that area, but that could be that we need to do a lot better on our education so we have more qualified people to actually do that work. So, and until you do that, go ahead.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No,
I
no.
understand that study is stopped. It's
It's stopped
impending.
because
There are
there's no
problems
fund-
with the
the funding was removed for the
Right.
disparity study.
So that should be very interesting.
Oh, I'm all in
no-
on that. So you get support from me. Bring back that information to me because I think that that's very important to our goal
Yes.
on creating small business opportunities and economic
Very, very
opportunities.
important.
Yes. Let's go. I'll give a minute around because I think we did pretty good here so far.
Yes.
So we want to give Ivette a chance to get a minute in. So tell us something that in your mind that we could be doing better. Josh.
Great question. So, real quick, I know Ivette helps with the credit repair. Susie helps find the house. Ramon helps them get it pre-qualified. I help them. I think we could do. When I say we, our industry, financial services, we have we play a critical piece in preserving that dream. It's one thing to get your home. It's another thing to keep your home. You know, growing up in a single-family house, I saw my parents go through bankruptcy. We moved to a triple-decker. Or triple-decker, as we say in Massachusetts.
Yes.
Right? It made for good friendships and all those things, and you learn, but it's not something I want to live in, right? If
Or
I'm
go
hurt-
through again.
Or go through again, right? Nothing against, triple, I think I own multiple properties that I mentioned, and I think, SBG Gorra Realty, that's another company I'm very passionate of, and nonprofit pieces that we do, but I think we need to do be more conscious of the fact that we have to help people preserve that dream. Not just get in the seat, not just get in the house, but keep the house. So get a will, get a trust, educate those people, do a better job of being passionate about keeping those assets.
Well,
and moving that
if you have
legacy
an
forward.
organization that we can come and talk to, I certainly would share with them some of my thoughts on how to, the role that could be played to create a better economy. But I'd love to hear, and that's what we're doing. I think that John Wooden said something like that: "If you want to be heard, listen." Right? If you want to be heard, then listen. And so that's what we're trying to do. So be more than happy to meet with any of the organizations out there, yours as well as any of the other ones. Give us a 1-minute overview, kind of like what could be done better.
Yeah, I think following some of the points that have been made across the table, I think education is a big piece, right? And especially when it comes to financial services and finance in general. I mean, you grow up going to school, you learn math, you learn science, you learn English and all these different things, but one thing you don't do is you don't learn about finance. But yet it's the most important piece of your life that you're going to come across and face, and especially going into college. From an affordability standpoint, and then from a standpoint of becoming a homeowner and everything else that comes after that. Yet we don't really cover any of that in the basic 12-year education of going to high school, right? And then what's the first thing that you get offered once you're 18 and you're in that last year of high school and preparing for college? Credit cards, oh my God, right?
Oh my God.
And then, and I say this because 60% of the time, of the reasons that I can't do a mortgage for someone or provide any type of financial services for them is because of credit. And this is across the board. It doesn't matter the background.
Yep.
But there's a big gap there when it comes to educating youth about financial services.
Yeah.
And you look at professionals like us all across the board, and this is part of the reason why I volunteered to be a mentor of Europe, because I want to try and move that and change that.
I'm a big fan of Europe.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. They approached me and I said, yes, let's
Yes.
do it.
Yeah.
And specifically, I'm going on with a CPA. It's going to be myself and a few others. And it's a great opportunity to kind of create an initiative to hopefully be able to change that. Because then that creates longevity for when they come out of college, are working, are making money, and all of these different things.
So you're making a really good point. Maybe it shouldn't be just something we offer, it should be something we require. So that if we want to have a strong communities and fiscally strong communities and everything that means, then we need to get serious about what you just said. So I love that idea, and that's what I'm here trying to figure out, how to take good ideas and then work it. So I'd love to talk to you about that and other people who feel the same way and try to figure out how to make that more of a requirement than just an offer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be good. Give us something that's going that we could work on and do better.
Let's try to say it in 1 minute.
Well, actually, we got I just saw we got 5 minutes, so you only have to give me like a half a minute. So you got a minute and a half, and Ivette got a minute and a half.
Okay, good. Cultural competency.
What's that?
Cultural competence.
Okay.
With the continued growth of the Latino business owners, we need more better services and better attention from different state and municipality dependencies. So
Tell us something like what that would look like.
information in different language, in different offices, and inclusion and diversity as employees in the municipalities on state offices. It's too expensive for a business owner who doesn't speak English very well to don't understand and going back 2-3 times for a document when they could be solved very, very fast. So I think that is very important, and that diversity study will give you some numbers to say how should be distributed more inclusion and more different language in the different
Yeah, and I would make the argument that that's still going to be a relatively short time that you need that help. But while you need it, you should have it. You know, just like I said with the Portuguese community earlier. Trust me, the kids that are coming, that are being born in the Portuguese community right now, they have no problem with English, right? But that's 50 years later, right?
Yes.
So it takes 1 or 2 generations. But I want to tell you a quick story about what came up to support your argument. We got a call from a pesticide company, that somebody that does like a Griggs and Brown type of thing, and they had an Hispanic individual that worked there, and they were trying to get a license for this young man, and he took the test 7 times or 6 times, but all in English, and he couldn't understand, you know, the intricacies of the question. So he was continually not passing it. So what we did, we pushed our way in through the door with Rosa, and she did a great job. And we said, no, we'll give us an interpreter in the room, and then that gentleman is going to be able to earn a living, and he's going to get a license. And that's exactly what happened. The first time they took the test with an interpreter in the room, that gentleman passed the test. He was in my office about a month and a half ago, and they were very happy. So it does support that there's a value to kind of making sure we're communicating in a way that people understand today. Ivette, give us your thought of what could be done better to help people with their credits.
Well, actually, if you're trying to start your business, then you know that access to capital is one of the most difficult things that small business owners have to deal with. And again, like I mentioned before, I've seen them use their personal credit history, which is no good. Can I get a government grant to start and grow my small business? And if so, how?
Yeah, so I think that's a good question. The answer, there's probably are opportunities out there, but I think it's probably a little unrealistic. I hear that quite often, that a grant's that's going to save the day. You know, there's not a lot of free money that falls from the heavens into a small business. I have not experienced that. Although I can tell you what we are working on right now as another piece in our office is that we've identified, and this would be important for all of you, I think, that there's some job training dollars that are available that are being underutilized. We collect through our payroll taxes a job training on our payroll, you know, the taxes the employer pays, and there's a substantial amount of money that has been that's pooled, and yet we're probably using maybe 20% of that to help the small business community. So we're going to make a major effort to get more of those job training dollars out on the street on behalf of the small businesses. So there are some things, but I think that the general public kind of thinks that somehow it's just going to come and it's just going to be put on the table for them, and that's probably unrealistic. But where we can find those avenues, it's great. So I got to wrap this up. First of all, I want to tell you I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that you did too. And I think that we heard a number of things here that are very, very important. And I'll just keep on echoing that for us to have a small business friendly climate, we need to make sure we're communicating with everybody that's in small business, regardless of who they are and where they came from. And so I think that you've brought up some really good issues here today, and I'm looking forward to continue this discussion to kind of make a better economy for all the families who live in the state of Rhode Island. I would just say to everybody, adios.
Adios. Adios.
Bye-bye.
Hasta la vista.